More liberal groups and Democrats calling for a carbon tax to fight climate change. A business that emits CO2s would pay the tax. It would reportedly raise a ton of money, maybe $1.25 trillion over 10 years. That's a lot of money. But since companies pass on costs to consumers, doesn't that just whack the middle class? Here now is Democrat strategist Steve Leser. Steve, welcome to the program.
Thanks for being here.
We're not here to discuss whether global warming is real or whether Sandy was caused by climate change. Forget all of that. I'm interested in the carbon tax. I think it's going to happen, and I think it's going to happen because it's irresistible. It's a gusher of money coming into Washington. That's why it's going to happen, right?
I don't think so. I think there's a number of ways that you can do this that doesn't hurt the poor, that doesn't hurt the middle class. And one of the things we recognize since we had these superstorms and nor'easters that we've had more often over the last 10 to 20 years, we have to do something. And we can do this in a way that doesn't hurt the middle class. There's a couple of ways.
Well, hold on a second. If you tax carbon, basically you're putting a tax on natural gas, on coal and oil. Somehow or other, you are taxing them, aren't you?
Absolutely.
So the cost of the energy produced from those fuels goes up. Now, we all pay for energy, right? How do you make sure that middle-class people and ordinary poor people don't pay the carbon tax? How do you do that?
A couple of ways. One of the ways that has been discussed by the Congressional Budget Office, for instance, is a payroll tax rebate for those in the lower income brackets. So we shield the middle class and the poor from the effects of this tax while still getting the benefits of reduced carbon emissions. So that's the real goal here, not the revenue. The revenue would be nice if we didn't hurt people, but you can't do that. So the real goal is to save the environment, to reduce global warming, not so much the revenue.
Yeah, come on, Steve. Do you really think that if you tax carbon, we're going to save the planet? Do you really?
I think that's one of the ways.
Do you really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you really?
Yeah, I think we need to reduce carbon emissions, and I think we need to come.
Are you worried about the next big storm because we're just putting out too much carbon out there? I'm really worried.
I am worried about the next big storm. I mean, there are a lot of people in the New York City tri-state area that are still suffering from the last one. So yeah, sure, I'm really worried about the next big storm, and I'm worried more for what my children and grandchildren are going to experience in big storms if we don't get behind this and start resolving it.
All right, so you've got a rebate system that would stop middle-class people and poor people from paying this carbon tax.
Right.
But businesses would pay it, wouldn't they?
Absolutely. And actually, there are a lot of businesses that are in favor of it. Unilever, Kodak, and even the conservative
Kodak
American...
barely exists any longer. And they're bankrupt, for heaven's sake. You can't quote
That's
Kodak.
true. Poor guys. But you know what? The American Enterprise Institute, a conservative think tank here in the U.S., they prefer the carbon tax to, for instance, something like a
prefer
carbon
nothing.
trade.
Come on. They don't want any kind of carbon tax. But if they've got to have one, it'll be a carbon tax. Straightforward. Okay. You think we're going to get it?
I do.
Who's going to propose it?
I think it's going to be the Republicans, actually.
The Republicans will propose this?
Yeah, the Democrats will not propose it.
You know, you might be right, because I think the right would prefer a carbon tax to increase taxes on income and capital gains and dividends.
And I think Democrats are going to be willing to work with them on that. I think this is, I hate that this is a partisan issue. I'd like to see Democrats and Republicans come together to solve this in a way that doesn't hurt people, doesn't hurt businesses, but protects the environment. I think that there is a compromise in there somewhere.
Okay, you're dead certain a carbon tax of some sort is coming?
Absolutely.
Absolutely certain on that. All right. Steve Leser, always a pleasure. Thanks for joining us, sir.
Thank you, Stuart.
The president may have won re-election.